Good morning, distinguished guests, speakers, and organizers of the 6th Global Water Summit in New Delhi. My name is Jeroen Tielman of QStone Capital, and I apologize for not being able to make my presentation live today at this summit. Today, I would like to share our thoughts on a win-win business case for migration towards zero liquid discharge for the textile industry. So if we go to slide number 2 with our opening statement, is that a surcharge, a one-off cost increase of only 1% of the price paid by fashion brands to the producers of ready-made garments, that one-off price increase of only 1% will pay for the migration from a linear water use model to a full zero liquid discharge model. We think that at the same time, retail clients of fashion brands are likely to pay even a multiplier of this surcharge, as zero liquid discharge represents the next level of sustainability. Recently, we have seen in the news discussions about the Higgs methodology of claiming sustainability, sustainable textile production. We believe that no water discharge, no pollution would be part of this next level of sustainability. So therefore, we think that the migration towards zero liquid discharge, meaning no pollution, is a win-win business case for everyone in the ready-made garment sector, in the ready-made garment value chain. So if we go to slide number 3, we think zero liquid discharge is the next level of unambiguous and measurable sustainability for the production of ready-made garments, meaning no pollution. If we go to slide 4, basically migration towards zero liquid discharge from a linear model can only succeed if it's market-driven. We believe market-driven transition to zero liquid discharge is much more powerful than a regulatory-driven. We fully understand regulatory-driven migration to zero liquid discharge, but our point is that it is market-driven. We think the transition from a linear water use model by the textile industry towards a zero liquid discharge water use model will be much more expedient. So if it's market driven, there needs to be a business case which is a win-win for everybody. So let's have a look. What would be this win-win benefit analysis be for the different participants in the value chain of the textile industry, of the ready-made garment textile industry, for the migration towards zero liquid discharge? So let's move to page number 5. First of all, we think that innovation in water treatment technology, as we are witnessing now, is really helping to reduce the threshold for migration from an existing linear water treatment model to a zero liquid discharge water treatment model. We have seen that recent innovations do have the effect that they reduce the total cost per ready-made garment for a migration towards zero liquid discharge with 50%. Now, we understand that for a linear model where the water treatment has a function to treat the water to really comply with discharge requirements, that water treatment installation is seen as a cost without any revenue. And therefore, that the textile industry would like to reduce this cost as much as possible, but then still meeting the regulatory discharge requirements. Now, when moving to a zero liquid discharge, meaning there is no discharge of liquids and also whatever is taken out of the water can be reused, we think that although the costs will be higher of such a water treatment installation, we believe that these costs are not a cost without a revenue, but they are an investment with a good return. Now, where does the innovation exactly has a role? As this slide number 6, this slide number 5 shows that there are about 5 different steps. Pre-treatment technology, where we think that electrocoagulation is much more efficient as a pre-treatment than a biological treatment. Then the next step is the multimedia filter, the UF, the RO. And then the difficult part, which is both capital intensive as well as has relatively high operational cost with older technology, is the now step, the condenser/pusher centrifuge. In this step, the brine coming out of the RO is basically being reduced to salts which can be reused. This part of the treatment used to be very high energy, very energy intensive. With new technologies, these costs can be brought down considerably. So, if we look at these 5 steps, as you see at the bottom of slide number 5, the costs of these 5 steps have been reduced by innovation of about 50%, where the pre-treatment, as you can see on the left, as well as the last step in the treatment, as you can see on the right, are the major areas of innovation. Now let's go to slide number 6. Here you basically see what the price increase would be for particular ready-made garment categories. We took as an example 3 categories here: 1, knitted t-shirts, 2, sweatshirts, and 3, jeans. If you look at the bottom of the page, the top line, you see that what are the calculations for what is the contribution needed to pay for a migration towards zero liquid discharge. Now, in this particular example, you can see it's $6 per knitted t-shirt, about 18 cents for a sweatshirt, and about 40 cents or 42 cents in this particular example for a pair of jeans. Now, assuming on the next line, the acquisition cost paid by the textile brand to the textile producer, you can see that on that level it is an increase of about 2 to 3%. However, the power of the fashion brand is to charge their end clients a multiplier, and in this particular example you can see on the bottom line that the additional cost for the end customer buying the ready-made garment with a ZLD treatment would be about 0.8% for knitted t-shirt, about 1.5% for sweatshirts, and this particular example, about 0.5% for jeans. Now, we think that with the next level of sustainability, fashion brands are being able to charge a multiple of the extra cost they pay to the textile producers, and hence creating a win-win business case where zero liquid discharge treatment, both for the fashion brands as well as for the ready-made garment textile producers, are an attractive business case, as well as the financiers financing the investment in zero liquid discharge. Now, if we go to slide number 7, We think that there is a possibility that the consumer-led surge in demand for zero pollution, as being represented by zero liquid discharge, as the next level of sustainability, is expected to create a tipping point beyond which already installed water treatment becomes a scarcity. And if we go to the next slide, what would be the tipping point? Well, a tipping point is this moment, quote unquote, old Malcolm Gladwell said, is this magical moment when an idea, trend, or social behavior crosses a threshold and starts creating or spreading widely. In this particular case, what we mean is that maybe younger generation buyers of ready-made garments in Western Europe, for example, and the US as major export markets for Bangladesh and for India, for example, that these end consumers at one point start demanding a next level of sustainability, start demanding no pollution. Now, in our calculations that, for example, for Bangladesh, even if today all the ready-made garment textile producers would decide to migrate towards zero liquid discharge, that rebuilding all these industries from a linear model to a ZLD model might take 5 to 8 years. We think that the risk or chance, depends on the way how you look at it, of end consumers changing their attitude and being willing to pay for zero liquid discharge, be willing to pay an extra 1 to 3% or even more for their ready-made garment, knowing that it is being produced without any water pollution. We think that that could happen much quicker than in 5 to 8 years. So, if consumers would change their behavior quicker than the ability for the industry to adjust their capacity from a linear model to a zero liquid discharge model, that would mean that both for fashion brands as well as for textile producers, it might be very recommendable to change their, to make sure that there is enough capacity available with their suppliers, and that relates to the fashion brands, with their suppliers to have already ZLD installed. And at the same time, for textile producers, it might have a strategic value to migrate towards ZLD as soon as possible, because if and when there is a scarcity, that could also create additional value, both for the fashion brands who have secured ZLD production, as well as for the textile producers who also have secured ZLD water treatment in an early phase. Now, this is just an assumption we have about the tipping point. Maybe if we move to slide number 9, it's you. It's you to whom we need to listen. It's you being present today at the conference. And we basically have 2 questions where we would really like to know how you think about it. The first question is, do you think retail, ready-made garment customers of fashion brands in Europe and the US are willing to pay 1% extra for ready-made garments which are being produced with zero liquid discharge, meaning zero pollution? If you think that will be the case, that is A, or B, the answer is no. And this is a pre-recorded message, so unfortunately I can't see the response. But if you are willing to raise your hand, if you think it is A, then maybe the organizers can form an opinion how the audience thinks about this. So please raise your hand if you think with the first question the answer is yes. Now, the second question is, when do you think retail customers or retail consumers, the retail buyers, will start demanding zero pollution ready-made garment production? Do you think that will take many years, that people will talk about it, but not really act about it, that end consumers, especially the generation in their 20s and 30s in export markets like Western Europe or the US, do you think that these retail consumers of ready-made garments and who are kind of like sensitive to fashion trends, would they demand zero pollution in either A, 0 to 3 years, B, 3 to 5 years, or C, 5 to 8 years? So if for this question, please, the audience could raise their hands if they think that will happen soon. A, 0 to 3 years. So please raise your hands if you think it is A. All right. So if you think it's B, 3 to 5 years, please raise your hand now. Or if it is C, it will take a while, it will not happen before 5 to 8 years from now. Please raise your hand now. Well, again, this is a pre-recorded message. I can't see the feedback. And I'm really looking forward for the conference organizers to get the feedback on your response to these two questions. So if we go to the last slide, this is the team working on implementing zero liquid discharge in India, in Bangladesh. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. Again, I apologize that I haven't been able to give this presentation live. If there are any questions, I'm sure that the conference organizers can pass on these questions to me, and I will come back with answers to that. Again, thank you very much for your attention.